is up, my gamers in Christ? How are we doing today? How is it doing? Hold on, I did not turn that on. I should probably remember to turn it down, but, you know, before I go live, but it's always good to just blast people's earlobes a little bit. So you know you're listening. Could you imagine if I didn't? You wouldn't be able to hear me. Anyways, hope we're doing well today, guys. I hope we're doing well. We have so much to talk about. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with half of this. We've got the lefty liberal civil war, but I'm gonna hold on talking about that for a little bit. Just for a little bit, because I don't want it to become what it was during IP. If it becomes that, then I'm gonna be a little... I don't know. Anyways, besides that, which we're not even gonna be really talking about today, it is very frustrating though. But, with that being said, let me bring up what we'll be talking about in lieu of well, let's anyways, sorry. I have a lot to say about that situation, but I really just if I continue to see what I've been seeing, then I'm gonna have to go all out, you know, because at some point you have to tell people when to reorient their focus towards a dictator. But I personally don't think I have to tell people that. And I don't think I have to go on a whole tirade about that, you know? I'd rather talk about how we are getting ready for a incoming shutdown. Senate Democratic leaders hold news conference and call for Nome to step down. I believe we have 72 hours. I believe this is the one they announced the impending shutdown. Then we have Fed Chair Jerome Powell holding a news conference on interest rates. Now, I don't know how much of this we're gonna watch, but we gotta make sure that we give him a little light. After that, we have U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar on the syringe attack. We'll also watch the syringe, the attack. You know, if this had been anybody else, if this had been Donald Trump, they would have called this a chemical attack. They would have said the perpetrator was committing an act of chemical terrorism. But instead, Donald Trump says she probably planned it. Again, this loser cannot do anything but just attack the left instead of actually focusing on America's problems. What is up, Winterfields 5395? How are we doing today? Hopefully we're doing well. After that, we're going to be watching a piece by Warfronts. Shout out to Warfronts. Go subscribe to them if you haven't already. About how devastating the Iranian protests have been to their population, and if the numbers are true, we're seeing reports of potentially 30,000. I mean, that's more than a person can bear. After that, we've got Mark Kelly on the Senate floor about ICE accountability and DHS funding. And I really respect Mark Kelly. He is a true patriot. And someone to watch out for a potential presidential run. I mean, you can't get much better than an astronaut. You know what I mean? Like, how do you beat? This man was a fucking astronaut. He's been to space, dude. I don't really think yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat that if he does decide. Anyways, after that, we'll get the PBS NewsHour fill of the day, January 28th. I saw they just put it out. We were gonna watch January 27th, but luckily they love us and keep us blessed. Oh, it's not going to be that fast. Anyways, after that, taking a step into the rightoid pit, but luckily having a little bit of a safe landing before we do, we have Senator Ron Paul on Alex Preddy. I don't think it's honest to say he brandished a weapon. Very important. So we'll be taking a look at that. That comes from C-SPAN. Shout out. And then after that, we're really going to step in the sludge, guys. We're really going to step in the sludge and talk about the, just talk about, we're going to watch a Benny Johnson video and then an Asmongold video and any other rightoid sludge we pick up along the way. And then after, if we get through all of that somehow, we're gonna talk about what's been going on in the liberal space. But I really don't want to focus on that. I think I mean, I can go on some debate panels about that, but I don't want to make that the focus of, like, my show. You know what I mean? I want to put my best foot forward and just, not really focus on any infighting. So, that being said, I'm gonna get my Morrowind popped up real quick, and we're gonna load my game, and then we will get truly started on the news of the day. And by the way, if any of you disagree with me, feel free to join my Discord and yell at me. Hold on, I do need to join my void. Alright, I'm in the void. So feel free to join my Discord and hop in the waiting room and let me know in chat or just ping me in Discord and I will join up and or I will drag you into the void and we can have an honest discussion. A good faith debate. That's what I do out here. I think that's pretty important. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's get this Morrowind. Oh, I forgot. I was playing a little in the Discord yesterday. And hold on. I'm replying to a message. By the way, if you guys aren't enjoying the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. Really helps out the channel and gets me boosted out there. I do a show every day where I talk about the news, politics, and just so much more. So that's interesting to you. Feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. One moment, let me check if my there we go, good to see. We're turning the knobs, we really are. We're turning knobs and being gamers. So, as I was saying, I was on the Discord last night having some disagreements, and I streamed a little bit of the game. You know what I mean? Just because I think for me playing a game while I debate is pretty key. I don't know about everybody else, but especially such an atmospheric game. Like, look at those trees, dude. You just can't get those anywhere else. Those are a Morrowind exclusive. I'm supposed to be collecting flowers, though. Hello. I haven't seen a dark elf face before. Would you? I haven't seen your dark elf face before. Okay. Well, it's a good thing that I'm new here, so that would make sense. Well, advice? I'll take a little advice. Near the Silt Strider. I can do that. I can definitely do that, dude. We got some smuggling going on. We got some smuggling going on, guys. We don't allow that. Why is my music not playing? Oh, it is. I thought they abandoned me. In my darkest hour. Could you imagine that? Anyways, let me check here. We will get our analytics going, and then we will get the show started. All right. Let's actually just get the show started. RN. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, we're doing it. Let me get the visuals on screen and turn off this real quick. Hold on. All right, turn that off. And let's begin. So, if you guys don't know, I think we are 72 hours away from a shutdown. The Democratic leaders have essentially given a list of commands, or not commands, demands, that they would like the Republicans to abide by. I think it has a lot to do with DHS funding, and for obvious reason. Hold on, I'm actually gonna put this right here. Important. But with that being said, let's get into. Oh, I actually need to let the Discord know I'm streaming, huh? That's probably important to let my fan base know when I'm streaming. I've heard that's something you should do, but what do I know? We are live. Give a nice little link there, send now. By the way, the Discord is growing. We're almost up to 200 people now. That's very exciting. I know, we're getting pretty close up there, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little bit more. A little bit more, and we'll be up there. I really do try to tell people, if you disagree with me at all, please feel free to join the Discord. They never do, right? They never do. I feel it's because they're very afraid of the absolute destruction that will come to them on a level they have not seen. Not really. I'm really not that confrontational, but I'll hold people to their shit, and I'm not gonna let you get away with things like Uh, just I'm not gonna let you get away with saying horrible things about this great nation and advocating for horrible policies. I'm sorry, dude. That's just how I gotta do it to people. Anyways, let's there's loaner box. I don't think there's any self promo there. Oh, we gotta let the ice beaners. Hold on, don't clip that. I just realized what I said, okay? I just realized what I said. Now, somebody devious would clip that out of context. Luckily, we don't have a devious audience right now, and we're just gonna pretend like I didn't say that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna pretend like I didn't say that. All right. Well, guys, let's get back into it. By the way, if you guys are enjoying the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I do a show every day, and we're gonna have some good streams coming up. So, like and subscribe to see that. Anyways, Chuck Schumer, Democratic leaders, they've got some demands.
Yeah, for being here. Well, what the American people are seeing right now is not just horrifying. It's a direct result of choices and policies implemented by the Trump administration. The killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis, tragic killings seen now by millions and millions of Americans, are horrific and can never be accepted. And it helps importune us to rein in ICE and end the violence.
For real, like,
under President Trump,
I mean, that's something I really am proud of our Democratic leaders for standing up in this moment. You know, I hear as a little bit of a criticism that the Dems just aren't fighting enough. Well, this is what fighting kind of looks like. I mean, without the new age, without a media apparatus, we can't. So the way the Republicans get away is that they have this giant media apparatus that they can just retreat to if anything is going bad. The Democrats need that so bad. Brian Tyler Cohen is doing amazing work, and so is David Pakman, but we need more. And I think that starts by unifying. We gotta unify, guys. We gotta mount up as
Secretary Noam and Stephen Miller. ICE has been unleashed without guardrails. They violate constitutional rights all the time, and they're deliberately refusing to coordinate with state and local law enforcement. This is not border security. This is not law and order. This is chaos, created at the top and felt in so many of our neighborhoods. Americans support law enforcement and secure borders, but they do not support a federal agency that routinely operates above the law. They do not support Americans getting killed on their streets and in their neighborhoods. What ICE is doing is state-sanctioned thuggery. It must stop. Republicans must work with Democrats to find
state-sanctioned thuggery. Okay. I like to hear that. I like to hear that anger. State-sanctioned thuggery, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I said. Hey, I mean, I agree with him. I mean, only a thug, in my opinion, would just shoot somebody who isn't even moving's body like that. That's to send a message. You know what I mean? They did that to send a message, in my opinion. But at the very least, there's going to be a fair and open investigation about this. But I still need an open and fair investigation for Renee Good. Where the hell is that? I mean, it's so sad to see. both of these cases, and there needs to be justice in both of them, not just fucking it's 20 minutes past, we should be good. Not just for Alex Preddy, but for our fellow American Renee Good. Anyways, I'm gonna let it continue.
Legislative solutions to restore order and public safety. Congress has the authority and the moral obligation to act. What's missing is Republican will to act.
We're at the beginning.
After talking with my caucus, Senate Democrats are united on a set of common sense and necessary policy goals that we need to rein in ICE and end the violence. Our caucus is unified over three main legislative objectives. First, we want to end roving patrols. We need to tighten the rules governing the use of warrants and require ICE's coordination with state and local law enforcement. Second, we want to enforce accountability. There needs to be a uniform code of conduct and accountability. Federal agents should be held to the same use of force policies that apply to state and local law enforcement, and be held accountable when they violate these rules, including independent. We need independent investigations to help enforce accountability. Third, we want masks off, body cameras on. Federal agents must be prohibited from wearing masks. They must be required to use body cameras, and they also always have to carry proper identification. No more anonymous agents, no more secret operatives. These are common sense reforms, ones that Americans know and expect from law enforcement. If Republicans refuse to support them, they are choosing chaos over order, plain and simple. They are choosing to protect ICE from accountability over American lives. Let me be clear. Democrats stand ready today to pass the 5 bipartisan bills in the Senate. But the DHS bill needs serious work, and Republicans and Democrats alike owe it to the American people to get it right. It's now on Leader Thune to separate out the DHS bill, just as Speaker Johnson did in the House, and start working with Democrats to rein in ICE, imposing oversight, accountability, and empowering local law enforcement in our communities. Our communities deserve it. The American people deserve it. Senator Murray.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Chuck?
Well, Democrats are ready to avert a shutdown. We have 5 bills we all agree on, about 95% of the remaining budget. It is ready to go. We can pass those 5 bills, no problem. All Leader Thune has to do is tee them up for a vote. The ball is in the Republicans' court. But when it comes to DHS, we cannot ignore what happened on Saturday, especially after what we have seen over the last 12 months. We have to split this bill off and grapple with the brutal reality that ICE and CBP are out of control and endangering American citizens. The brutal killing of Alex Preddy was an inflection point for this country. We are saying enough. DHS agents shot and killed another person in broad daylight. He was a legal observer. He went to just help a woman, and then he was tackled, disarmed, and shot in the back. Then, instead of conducting the most basic oversight, the administration has attempted the most blatant cover-up. Instead of even acknowledging this was a tragedy, they tried to slander a VA nurse as a domestic terrorist. This cannot stand in America. That's why we are demanding Republicans work with us on serious reforms to rein in this department. That is why the vast majority of the American people are demanding we do, and what many Republicans are now calling for as well. So we need members on both sides to sit down and include critical reforms and accountability measures within the DHS bill. And there is no reason whatsoever for that work to hold up the other 5 bills and cause a shutdown. We do this all the time. We move forward on the areas where we have an agreement. We roll up our sleeves and keep negotiating on other issues. And it's not like the House can't come back and vote on this too. That's what the Senate did when the House rewrote a spending agreement back in 2018, right after we had left for the holidays. So there's no good reason for Republicans not to work with us here. They know as much as we do that NOM and ICE and CBB need to be reined in.
Just tell those people to go home and let ICE do their job. I don't think their job is to be shooting and killing American citizens. I don't think that's part of their job, to be honest. I could be wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the chat if I'm wrong. But last time I checked, ICE was not in charge of slaughtering Americans in our streets. Maybe update me on that. Maybe, I don't know. I could be a little bit iffy on that. But last time I checked the laws, that was not ICE's fucking job. But hey, maybe I could be wrong. Let me know in chat, guys. And also, if you guys are enjoying the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. I do a show every day where I come on here and talk about news, politics. I take call-ins and I debate people. I'm really multifaceted in that regard. So, nope, it's to depot illegals. Well, I'm assuming you meant to deport, and that is true. However, they're obviously not deporting the people that the American people elected Trump to deport. He's just deporting anybody who is here, quote unquote, illegal, also known as undocumented, is just getting swept up in these. I don't think the American people voted for that job. I don't think they did. I think the American people voted for ICE to deport dangerous people who were here illegally. That's obviously not what they're doing, and obviously they are hurting people in the process of not doing their job. So it's really not a hard decision in my opinion, guys. Like, we need to truly, yeah, that's what we want. No, my friend. Yeah, exactly. You want ICE to deport criminals who are here illegally, not just want on anybody here illegally. I'm glad you agree with me, man. I knew you were a smart cookie.
I've heard them talk for years about...
Liberals are mentally ill, says S. Johnson, and then Gregory de Felipe says, that's right, illegals. We voted to get rid of illegals, period. Well, that's not what the vast majority of Americans voted for. The vast majority of Americans want ICE to deport people who are here illegally, that are criminals. They don't want you to deport just some random guy in their town who they're actually really good friends with. That's not who they wanted to deport.
Government overreach and out of control federal.
Capital F. Trump is my father. Well, number one, why is that? Like, it's this weird homoeroticism that goes on in the right party. That is just insane. You're lying to your listeners. No, I'm not. There's data to back me up. If you, Gregory de Felipe, I implore you to come into my Discord and debate me. You can be a keyboard warrior. I mean, we appreciate all our keyboard warriors here, but unfortunately, I'm not going to take your opinion too seriously. You know what I mean?
Federal agencies and the importance of things like the First and Second and Fourth Amendments. Well, that is exactly what we are seeing right now. Rogue federal agencies infringing on America's most basic rights and making our communities...
This is your mommy right here. Everybody, all the MAGA in chat. You want to call Trump daddy? Well, this is your fucking mommy right here. And she's about to fucking lay it down for you. Why don't you listen?
Well, that is exactly what we are seeing right now. Rogue federal agencies infringing on America's most basic rights and making our communities less safe. We need to remember Republicans already gave ICE an enormous slush fund, which every Democrat voted against. Republicans voted to cut.
Dude. Here we go with the Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk would debate snowflakes and destroy them with facts. It made me so mad. All they could do is call him names and scream racism. No, Charlie Kirk debated uninformed college students who didn't know what they were talking about. I could do that too, you know. It's not necessarily amazing fucking holy shit, this guy, he invented the wheel right there. You know, I could do that too if I had the proper funding, which let me tell you, TPUSA had quite a bit of funding. But I think it's horrible what happened to Charlie Kirk, and I condemn Tyler Robinson to the darkest cell in the stinkiest prison, man. Screw that guy. He's a freaking loser.
Secretary Noem a blank check and fund those roving bands of federal agents who have been knocking down doors.
Charlie Kirk is definitely looking up at me right now, Joe Mack. You know what I mean? He's definitely, we can all, just because I think what happened to him is disgusting and wouldn't wish it upon my most horrible enemy, I still think he was a racist. I still think he was misogynistic. I mean, I'm not if my daughter gets R-worded, I'm not gonna force her to carry that pregnancy to term. I don't know about you guys, but that's sick in my head, in my mind. But I don't know. Maybe you guys might disagree. I know there's a lot of MAGA in chat, and they are very angry. By the way, good to see you, Joe Mac. In less than a year, nobody will remember his name. Well, it's kind of funny, right? It's kind of funny how they so quickly forgot about what happened to Charlie Kirk and how shitty they felt when idiots on TikTok were making fun of him and how bad that felt. It's interesting how quickly they forgot about it when it came to Renee Good. It's very interesting how quickly they forgot about it when it came to Alex Preddy. Just food for thought right there, ladies and gentlemen. Just think about that for a little bit. Lucifer. If that is your real name.
Without the slightest cause and without legal warrants. Republicans voted for federal agents attacking, detaining, and killing Americans simply because they disagree with the administration's brutal tactics. Republicans voted for that unprecedented funding with no oversight, no accountability, which has now resulted in federal officers and agents first killing a mother.
Listen to her, MAGA. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I know your poor ears can't listen, but she's speaking facts right now.
In her minivan trying to drive away, and now has led to a legal gun owner with the legal right to conceal and carry being killed and slandered as a terrorist by this administration.
I find that interesting. You think that about your fellow American. I find that very interesting. Did you feel that way about Charlie Kirk? Oh, he was an idiot for going out there and speaking how he felt. So interesting. How was Charlie Kirk racist? Where is your proof? He said he wouldn't fly on a plane if the fucking dude was black, bro. I'm sorry, but he was racist. And the sooner you come to that realization, the sooner, I don't know, you can love yourself. I don't know.
Republicans voted to put federal agents in the streets with barely any training.
Hell yeah, that's a fucking sick name, bro. That's fucking dope. I'm
who are
not
not
being
focused
facetious.
on
I know, I
de-escalation,
think that's a
not wearing body cameras, and explicitly not working with local law
Hey, I at
enforcement.
the very least know you're not a Bible thumper out here, dude. Holy. Oh my God. They would see your profile picture, and I swear to God, they would be like, for just having you in my chat, you're advocating for the devil to be worshipped right now. You're advocating for the devil to be worshipped right now. Taken out of context, I don't know what context makes it good. I think a lot of MAGA is actually racist. Well, I think a lot of MAGA is, I think if you're like deep into MAGA, I think you're probably hurting. And if you are truly racist, what happened in your life to become that way? Because I think it's just antithetical to the human existence. You're a weak person with a weaker mind. Says the man who is typing in my chat, not coming in to debate me on my Discord. I think that's interesting. Trump is hurting communism in America. What are you talking about? He's done some of the most communist shit in the world by taking 10% of Intel. I think that's more communist than anything the past presidents have done. Comrade Trump. Comrade Donald. You know what I'm saying, guys? Fucking. Ugh. Indoctrination from family and friends, I think. Well, it's probably a little bit of that, but I feel like a majority of people who voted for Trump just voted for Trump, so not even MAGA. They were just hurting, and the economy, incumbent parties across the world got voted out. And, Kamala, unfortunately, just didn't have that much time, so I don't blame her. ICE is only deporting illegal immigrants. They're not deporting legal Americans. Well, they have deported some people, so that's not true. Unfortunately. And on that note, I don't agree with Obama deporting a bunch of people in the regard of just cramping our deportation cells. But, I'm for deporting illegal criminals. Or illegal criminals. I'm for deporting people who are here illegally that have done a crime. However, I don't think our economy can support deporting all these people. I don't think it's the humane thing to do. And I definitely don't think it is helping our country in any way. It's making us look xenophobic as fuck, dude. You guys don't see, you're only 25%. No, we are much more of the population, and you're going to see that in these midterms, my friend Brandon. It's coming for you. And no matter how many bot accounts exist out there, give it RPGS, oh wow, interesting name. RPG19 or Brandon Stahl. You guys are not going to stop the wave that's coming. It's going to wash out all that MAGA filth and give you guys a whole new outlook on life. Obama, I don't agree with such a quick such a slow deportation process. We Americans deserve a speedy trial, and so does everybody else in here in America. And I'm sorry, but you're not going to convince me that these people are not American if they've been here for fucking 10 years and they support their community. I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me that they are Americans. Liberals don't care for immigrants. Don't let them fool you. These protests have nothing to do with them. It's all about protesting every move. No, dumbass. It's about the woman and man that got killed just a week ago. Do you think before you send these messages out, or are you just firing them off? Jason Clark just displaying an absolute opus to misogyny, saying Kamala Harris, instead of being the smart woman who could kick his ass in any debate, probably has way higher grades than he ever had. Saying she just sucked her way to the top. It's very embarrassing, Jason, when you say stuff like that. And I don't know if you know it, but it is a major turnoff for women. Like, it's just gross when you say shit like that. Every country deports people. Yeah, no shit. We're not saying not to deport people. We've already talked about that, my friend. If they've been here illegally for 40 years, it doesn't matter. Bro, they're more American than you are, probably. What are you talking about? No, they have even more right to be here. But, guys, this is why I advocate, so we don't have to fucking act like this. This is why I advocate for letting people who are willing to come out of the shadows, be giving them American citizenship if they can prove that they've been here for longer than 5 or 10 years. My position is 10 years, but I could see 5 years. And taxing them a little bit extra, so that way we can make a little bit, everybody's happy in this situation. And then after 5 years, they can become full American citizens without that tax bracket. Think about how much time that would save. Silly man, you argue like a child! I don't think I do. I'm not arguing, by the way. I'm debating, my friend. There's a difference. Anyways, we're going to continue on. Now, MAGA, make sure you're sitting down and listening to this woman. I know it's hard for you to listen to women, but...
and officials, all of which makes our communities less safe.
For just a moment.
Now is the time for senators to sit down, find a path forward to address what our Republican senators finally agree is a problem. And while we do that...
like, your own representatives don't agree with you guys. You know that, right? They think that those shootings were fucking horrific. And I think you guys know that especially the Alex Preddy shooting, I think you guys know it's pretty horrific. And so you're just saying basic shit that everybody agrees with. Like, nobody here disagrees that criminals should be deported. You know, but I think you're fighting shadows when you say that Democrats want here, like for example, I think you're fighting shadows if you say things like you just want illegal criminals here. Anyways, come out of the shadows and send their ass back. See, why would you want to do that? Even Donald Trump disagrees with you because he wants to keep over 1 million service workers in industries like agriculture, hospitality. So you guys are saying that nobody here illegally, also known as undocumented. So nobody here undocumented adds value to the country. Is that your guys' position? I just want to hear that. I think that's an interesting question. So you think nobody here undocumented adds value? And then they become a legal citizen? Okay. Lucifer, at least I've found that you're a little reasonable because unfortunately, to address your previous point, they don't have many ways to become legal citizens. You know, there's not very many ways, which is why I say they should be able to come down to a government building, have a couple people that can vouch for them, say their employer, the person that they have been paying for housing, anything like that. And then give them that tax bracket. After 5 years, they can become an American citizen. Now, I agree with you. If they join the military, do a 4-year stint, they most definitely should become a citizen. I agree with you. However, some haven't. Some people have served in the military that are served in our military that are here illegally. And I think that would be tragic to send our veterans who have served this country and served it damn well, by the way. Our military is the most badass in the fucking world. So I think anybody, they served it damn well and then they get deported. I think that is a tragedy and something we should fight to prevent. But unfortunately, Donald Trump disagrees because he doesn't he there have been many stories about veterans getting deported. And so, Lucifer, I see where you're coming from with that. You want them to essentially show that they love America. And I think if you're willing to come out of the shadows and trust the process, you should be rewarded for that. Problem is when Biden became president, Republicans, oh, this sucks. I got to get up and go to work in the morning. My normal life. Democrats, as soon as you protesting. Well, I disagree. I completely disagree. Um, Regardless of January 6th, you had content creators every day highlighting how Biden is a POS. I totally disagree. I think it's patriotic to go out and protest. That's how we got our start, man. I think anybody saying these protesters are paid, they don't, I think they truly believe in what they're going out and advocating for. And if I saw my Republican brethren out there protesting something, I'd at least listen to their argument instead of just shutting it down immediately. That's nuts. They're my fellow Americans. Why would I ever do that? So, what we normally allow into our country every year legally? Well, for why Biden let in so many people, I'll address that. So we had record low unemployment numbers. We had gained jobs Biden never had a single month where he lost jobs. So we had a need for all this labor. And Biden said, well, we have a bunch of labor just waiting at the southern border. Let's let them in. And he let about 3.5 million people in. And then the American people said, whoa, 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 we're not super comfortable with this. And so by the time Biden left office, he went from 300,000 border encounters to 60,000. And then Trump obviously has shut down the border. But I don't know if that's the best way to do this because there is a need for this workforce. And I also think immigration is kind of what America was born on, dude. I love this nation. You have no idea how much I think how much I think of it. But um at the end of the day, we have to anyways, I kind of lost my train of thought. I was looking at this quality restore health. I apologize, guys. It was saying my name. Look at that thing, but it's 80 fucking gold. I don't have 80 gold. Are you joking? But I believe this country should give them all 1 year to become legal American citizens, however long it might take. American? I kind of see what you're saying. I think we should just make that if, the form could be, I don't know the exact specifications that I would have to the bill, but there needs to be more legal means to come into the country. It's actually very difficult to become an American, or to even come here, So I want to open up the legal means of immigration and solve this issue. Not every party each year can come up here and be like, I'm going to solve the immigration issue. Oh, no, I'm going to solve the immigration issue. Like, I think the Democrats truly do have a more substantive plan, but I think it's not going to be, we're not going to get to the root of the issue until we address the ability to come in here legally. So we never heard of one legal American getting deported. No, there are, I mean, Abrego Garcia, bro. And there have been more stories, you know. It's not just him. But anyways, I do have to continue with this. Sorry, guys.
Are they really going to insist on shutting down childcare and clinical trials and air traffic control and so much more if DHS doesn't get all of its funding?
Feel free to come into my Discord if you want to debate me or call in. Just let me know in chat and I'll drag you in. I prefer to debate or, you know, have little scuffles, but I'm cool with libbing out every once in a while.
Right now? Well, I really hope not. I know there are senators on both sides of the aisle who want to get these other 5 bills passed as soon as possible. And I also know there are members on both sides who are horrified by the killing we saw Saturday and the way ICE and CBP have operated.
And there are Republicans. You know what? I'll give something else to MAGA today. At the very least, we don't have people celebrating the death of our fellow Americans. You know, no matter, you know, regardless of if you guys think Renee Good or Alex Preddy was in the right or not, it's still a tragic thing that happened. You know, I would never, and you guys saw, I don't celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. I don't. I think it means horrible things for America if we don't feel like we can talk to each other and instead we feel like we have to shoot each other. I could never raise a gun against my fellow American. I disagree. We should not keep it very hard to get into this country. Does it all when he became president? Well, yes, they did, bro. What was January 20th about? Come on. You guys got to admit when you've got, you know, when improper actions have been taken, you have to be able to admit that. Tens of thousands, millions, actually. It's open border policy. I disagree, bro. January 6th. And there were certainly sets of protests that happened because of Biden's policies. You know why you didn't hear about it? Probably because, like, what's your media diet, Lucifer? Just be honest. Like, what is your media diet? I'll tell you mine. I watch IRI. I'm a big fan of him. I watch a lot of PBS NewsHour. I watch a little bit of C-SPAN. And then I watch a lot of, like, Simon Whistler's channel, like the War Fronts. I watch a lot of those because I feel like he is as unbiased as one can get and, you know, still advocate for democracy and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm a huge fan of democracy. I really am. I think it is one of the greatest inventions of man. And it's a pretty simple invention too. You know what I mean? But it has led to a world of decreased poverty, of rights being given to the population that have almost been unheard of, and unprecedented freedoms, you know? Freedom, liberty, and justice for all. That's what I believe in. And so I'm gonna agree with, you know, watch a channel that supports democracy. You're damn right.
With us on these reforms. So now is the time to stand together, pass these 5 bills, and work on those badly needed reforms.
At least I didn't say CNN. I mean, hey, CNN they have some good things. Just like, hey, I won't say Fox News. Well, I do think Fox News is pretty bad. I will say that they do break news that is like very important in my opinion. You know, Fox News. But if there was a big protest, they would have said something. Well, of course, you can't not cover January 6th. You know what I mean? You can't not cover it. But I, the protests to Biden's border policy definitely weren't as big because I feel like Republicans don't believe in protesting as much, which is shitty, dude. You should be, I think if you guys feel like you are not being represented in your government, go out and protest, I believe in protesting. It's an American right, and I'm proud whenever I see protests happening, even if it's not for a cause I believe in, because that's the American spirit. Political discussion, freedom to speak your mind. That's what it's all about. So, well, Lucifer, I will have you know that most Somalians, I believe it was 98% of Somalians are here legally. They're American citizens, man. I know, hard to believe if you just listen to whatever Fox News says, but yeah, most of them are citizens. Don't have time to go protest? Well, that's sad, for one. We shouldn't be, even if that were true, that's very sad, and I think we should, I think you guys should have time for protest. You know what I mean? That's a fucking right as an American. But you are hitting on a very important thing, which is a lot of people have to spend a lot more time at work right now. And I think that is, uh, I think that is a bit of a, sorry, I get distracted sometimes. Again, I just got off of, work, so I'm still in a little bit of work mode, but, I do think it's important to know that you're hitting on a very important issue. And that is that a lot of people have to spend so much time at work. And I think that we have to really address why the cost of things have gotten so high. Obviously the tariffs didn't fix it, so let's have a real discussion on how we can actually address these issues. And I see you said 80% of them are on welfare. And while that may be true, that is true. That's a fact. They did come from a horrible, horrible situation, and it takes a little boost to get started here in America. Well, you guys definitely agree that like things have gotten more expensive, so it takes a little bit of a boost to get started, and they are using that boost to a full benefit. A lot of Somalian Americans are business owners. And so I don't think you should really look at it as if they are a drain. Look at all the benefit they're doing. And in my opinion, they're bringing the best parts of their old culture and they'll implement it here. What that looks like, I don't know. But I think American values are so strong that that you can mix anything with them and it's still going to taste like American. You know what I say? Anyways, I do have to continue on to talk about what they're talking about, guys. My bad.
Thank you, Leader Schumer, Senator Murray. Yes, today we say no more. No more of an out-of-control militarized ICE roaming the streets of communities across the country.
And I support to talk about this, I support targeted strikes where the federal and local government both work together to get people that are dangerous here illegally out of the country, dude. Fuck that. But, I don't think that's a mom. I don't think that's, a father who has been working here for like 10 years and he just doesn't know how to do the paperwork. He's even married to an American citizen. He just doesn't know how to do the paperwork. And so we need to do stuff like we need to honestly let people know that if they're here illegally and married to someone, for one, you can be here legally. You can become an American citizen. A lot of people don't even know that.
No more terrorizing our communities and detaining innocent children. No more beating and detaining Latinos simply for the color of our skin and because we occasionally choose to speak Spanish. No more killing United States citizens who are out peacefully protesting or monitoring this activity. That's brought us to this point. We're all here because the whole world watched as ICE and CBP officers killed 2 Americans over the course of 2.5 weeks in Minnesota. Not because those shootings were unavoidable, but because Trump's ICE and CBP are out of control and seem to be empowered by this administration to act with impunity. In the wake of Renee Good's tragic death a few weeks ago, it didn't take the administration long to try to blame her and send a message to ICE agents that they, according to the administration, had complete immunity. Number one, no, they don't. Number two, it's the opposite message to send. And it should not shock anybody that less than 3 weeks later, we saw the shooting in the back of Alex Preddy.
Well, you see why they're talking about Trump, right? You see why they're talking about the admin. Because for the longest time, they've said they were not going to do an investigation. Now, recently, all right, so Boone, you just displayed what will actually get you banned from, not banned, but timed out in my chat. And that is celebrating the death of an American. We don't do that around here, man. I don't celebrate the death of fucking Charlie Kirk, do I? No. I think it's fucking disgusting, just like I think your actions right now are. So you can take a little sleep. I love my fellow Americans no matter who they are. And you should have a little empathy.
Our position is clear. Separate the Department of Homeland Security.
Like, haha, so funny. Yeah, a fucking mom died. Wow, that's a funny one, guys. You know what I mean? Like, so gross, dude. I would never do that for anybody, regardless of who they are.
Spending bill from the rest of the bills.
Even Donald Trump. I do not want somebody to go out and kill Donald fucking Trump. You know? That would be, number one, that'd be horrible. You'd just make him a martyr. Congratulations. Okay, hey. I can agree with you, Lucifer. If they stop the giant ICE deportations, they stop just sweeping the streets, hell yeah, bro. Of course we'd stop protesting. You know, if they're doing targeted raids, just like they did under Biden, honestly, like, that's fine. I have no issue with that. Like, you know, I know there are people here illegally that are dangerous criminals, but I also know there are people here illegally that are just moms. you know, that are just dads, just daughters, sons, you know. I don't know. I have that empathy
And
for
let's
them.
work on meaningful reform.
Because it kind of like it's kind of the American dream to come to this land and make something for yourself. Not a lot of people like that. That's something I want people to want that personally. I really do. Anyways, I guess we'll do willpower for now. I need to increase my magicka. So we need to start doing more spells, and to do that, we need to get some potions of magic. Now, there are some, I'm sure we can get that from a trade house or something like that. Anyways, let's continue.
Forms. But I guess the real question to our Republican colleagues is this: how many more videos do they need to see? How many more masked agents coming out of unmarked cars?
And I'm glad you can see, by the way, Lucifer, that I'm a lot more like reasonable than a lot of the right kind of paints the left with one brush. And I don't do that for Republicans. Like, I think people like Thomas Massey are pretty cool. We're going to disagree on like 90% of things, but I think it's great that he's willing to extend a hand and work with Ro Khanna on the Epstein Transparency Act. I mean, that was as a unilateral effort from both sides. Now, unfortunately, Donald Trump seems to be ignoring that law, but hey, I do have news that we will be seeing it at some point. So I feel like we'll see something about it between now and the heat death of the universe. So get excited, guys. Get your cryopods. We may be here a while.
Cars, kidnapping people off the streets. How many more citizens need to die in broad daylight before they agree enough is enough? There must be real oversight.
And I won't lie, like, the Alex Preddy case is probably the one that really hurts the most personally, just because I kind of see myself in him. Like, I don't look like him or anything, but, you know, he was doing the thing that strong men, quote unquote, do, and that's helping a woman in distress, helping anyone in distress, but especially a woman, you know. And he got shot for it. And that just, I can't square that away, dude. I can't.
And
Anyways.
accountability. Yes, for the agents on the ground, but also from the leaders giving them their orders. ICE and CBP are not
How are all the muffins this evening? They're doing good, I'd say. I'd say so. Hold on.
above the law.
Get up.
I also want to be clear about this. This is not a political or even a policy disagreement over immigration. It's about the responsibility of the federal government and everyone representing federal departments and agencies to operate lawfully and professionally. That's not hard to comprehend. Most Americans get it. The vast majority of Americans across the country are infuriated by Trump's cruel, relentless, vindictive mass deportation campaign that has rounded up, the vast majority of the folks that they have rounded up do not have violent or criminal records. For mass agents,
They're my biggest fans at the end of the day.
detaining people so aggressively, often violently. And I'll also call your attention to, once they're detained, the horrible conditions many of them are being held in. I saw with my own eyes in California City last Tuesday, the largest detention facility in California. You've seen the videos out of Texas and now Maryland and others about the conditions that detainees are being kept in. And all for what? If the letter from Attorney General Bondi to Governor Walz is any indicator,
Look, MAGA, unwilling to talk about the most recent shootings because they know it looks bad, have to bring up Laken Riley. It's like, yeah, Laken Riley's death was horrible, dude. What do you want me to say about it? Biden responded to it by shutting the border down, so I don't know what else you want people to do, man. I'm not gonna go around every day and whip myself about Laken Riley when two of your fellow Americans, not one, two of your fellow Americans were gunned down in the street, and you do more. I mean, I don't think you've celebrated. I don't think you would. I don't know if you've celebrated the death of your fellow Americans, but you can't seem to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. You just want to talk about fucking Laken Riley. Well, I think it's horrible what happened to Laken Riley. Rest in peace. California fucked, you're turning red. Oh, please don't tell me you're a watcher of Red Eagle politics. I saw he shat out something that was massive cope. So, no, California is not turning red. The entire nation is turning blue, though, so you might need to be concerned about that, Red to Mango. Anyways, let's go.
it has nothing to do with public safety. The demand for their voter rolls tells you what this is really about. It's about trying to rig the next election and their desperate attempt to hold on to power. It's despicable and unacceptable. Congress
My brother in
must
Christ, there was a report done by people that have been inside these detention centers. It is a known fact that they do not serve fucking quality food. You're just spreading misinformation and something you truly know nothing about. It's very embarrassing. Red to Mango. But I implore you, it's like, I want you to come into my Discord and actually be able to defend it. I don't think you can, and I think that's what's sad. But guys, I do call-ins every day. This is a lie. Hold on. ICE detention maggots. It's crazy that I can look this up and actually have a fucking source. Hold on. Maggots in food have been reportedly reported in multiple, not just one, multiple U.S. immigration and custom enforcement detention facilities, according to advocacy groups and detainees. At the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, Washington, operated by the GEO Group, detainees and advocacy groups reported finding maggots, hair, blood, and even a screw in meals in 2019. And if you think they've gotten better under Donald Trump, well, I've got some bad news for you. You're a liar, bro. No, you're the liar, Red to Mango. You don't know what you're talking about. You are unfortunately misinformed. Bro, it doesn't matter what the fuck the commissary list looks like. Where are you? What detention centers commissary list?
assert its authority. Republicans and Democrats in a Congress.
That's not a regular prison. You have no idea what you're talking about. You are just yet again MAGA, just flopping their lips, typing away, keyboard warriors, spreading misinformation. No, my mom actually not owns, but she is in the prison industry. Let's just say that. And so I am very well acquainted with the ins and out of the prison industry. Unfortunately, you are just assuming yet again, Red to Mango, the Lord's most righteous keyboard warrior. I think I'm gonna
must
make that
assert
your
our
title.
authority as a co-equal branch of government to end this chaos and reel in this administration's abuses of power. So that's what we're standing up for: true oversight, real accountability. The Department of Homeland Security cannot be
Where
allowed
did
to
you see
receive.
that video? What channel was that video on, Red to Mango? I'm very interested to know. Was it by any chance on Fox News you saw that? Because Fox News has actually been sued because they lied. You realize that, right? Oh, now we're speaking on personal knowledge and experience. Okay. You can't, so you don't have anything to back you up. You're just doing it based on vibes. That's what you just said. Thank you. At least you admit it.
Receive more funds while they act with disregard to the law and the Constitution.
And now Red to Mango having fantasies about prison. He says, you clearly are not, and you would not make it one day. You would end up being someone's bitch for sure. I'm sorry, Red to Mango. I don't want to hear about your prison rape fantasies. That just doesn't sound interesting to me.
She asked me a question in the hall, and I said, come here, so she did.
Leader Schumer, would you accept a
No, the reason you're the only one watching my channel right now, Red to Mango, is because you, in fact, are in love with the sound of my voice, and I'm very sorry to hear about that.
outside of the appropriations bills that would contain some of your demands? And what's your conversation like with the White House specifically on what you're
The
asking?
White House has had no specific good concrete ideas. In terms of there's two simple things to do to get this done.
Ladies and
We
gentlemen,
want to
if
get
you're
it done, and we
appreciating
want to
the
get it done
stream
quickly.
and, you want to see more, I do a show every day where I talk about the news, politics, and so much more. So make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps out the channel.
Number one, Leader Thune has to separate the Homeland
Bro,
Security
I
bill.
don't even watch CNN. God, you are such a... I'd love to see that. Could you back that up at all, like, and debate me, or are you just going to do ad hom? It's very embarrassing what you're doing. Some Trump supporters are un-American fascists. Trump supporters are un-American fascist. Amen, Dante. Amen. Oh, no vibes here. I like how you say personal facts. It's like, these are my personal facts right here, guys. Bro, you're honestly pretty funny. I like it.
Out from the other five. He can simply put an amendment on the floor to do that.
What can I
So it's
say? Even Red to Mango, who himself does not enjoy me. See, even him, even he likes me, and isn't that beautiful? I'm not, brother, you're not riling me up. You realize I do this for fun, right? Do you see me advertising for you to send me money? I come on here because I enjoy talking to you. You realize that, right? I don't know, Red to Mango, where are yours? I'd be interested to see you do this. I would.
simple to do, and I am quite confident it would pass overwhelmingly. Already I've seen 6 or 7 Republicans say they would vote for it. So that's what we should do, and then we should sit down and come up
Well,
with...
unfortunately, Red to Mango, they actually do have jobs, so they're probably getting ready for bed. Luckily for you and me, you are an unemployed individual. So, hey, what's up, Rebel Duster? Good to see you, man. Been a while.
strong proposals to reform ICE and
Well, thank you. You don't have you can dislike it even. It adds engagement, you know what I'm saying? So,
and rein in ICE and end the violence. Yes, yes.
As you know, a substantial portion of DHS is already funded, including with increased funding for ICE. So what exactly are you hoping to achieve by withholding funding?
What we need to do is very simple again. Rein in ICE and end the violence. That's our goal.
There's three demands that you laid out at the top of this press
pretty
conference.
sure only
Is that a red
conservatives
line for
watch
you, or are you willing to
TGTV.
compromise off that list?
Look, our
I
number
mean,
one.
I'm surprised, but I mean, if that's who wants to watch me, hey, I appreciate it. I try to appeal to everybody. I really do. You know, and that's just based on my like political ideology. You know, I think nobody is too far gone to be talked to. So, hey, if conservatives
One
would
goal.
like watching,
These
I
are
appreciate
three
that.
policy areas we think must be done. But there's no, what we want to do is negotiate with the Republicans and come up with a proposal that, again, reins in ICE and ends the violence. Yes, Sahil.
Would you be supportive of a CR for DHS while you do these negotiations, or should funding lapse in your view well accomplished?
Let me tell you, first, if funding lapses, it's all because of Leader Thune. It's on his back. He could easily fund 96% of the budget by simply putting the 5 bills on the floor. As I said, he can just do that by taking DHS out, which he can do by an amendment. And we could,
What's
I
your
think,
solution for
give it.
illegal immigration? Well, like I said, I think that I don't want to get rid of ICE. Don't make it seem like I think it needs major reform. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want to get rid of ICE. What I think needs to happen is we need to what I would like to happen is the ability for these illegal immigrants to I even hate saying that because if they've been here for a while, it's like you're an American. So I want to give this a way for these undocumented immigrants to come out of the shadows and be able to become American citizens. Now, I personally think that they should have like a tax bracket, and if they haven't been here longer than something like 5 or 10 years, well, then maybe we can discuss sending them back to their country of origin. We just have so many people here that, well, not so many. Let me rephrase that. The issue is we have a lot of people undocumented here that are just Americans, you know? And so I think that's the most humane way to deal with it. And then the people that don't come out of the shadows and are just trying to hide from the government. Yeah, we can both agree that ICE does need like better training. You know what I mean? But I do think that that's the most humane way of dealing with it. And then anybody hiding, we can be a little bit more sure that, okay, these people don't want to be Americans. They're purposely hiding from the government. And not all of them need to be deported. That's why I'm saying like this option allows them to come out of the shadows and doesn't essentially have the they don't have to fear that they're going to have to leave their livelihood behind. And then the people hiding in the shadows, well, that is definitely a mark against you. And I do think that we need reform on the border. Unfortunately, I don't know if we'll see it for a while, but and that's what I'm essentially advocating for, Domingo. This would be a fast track way for the people who are productive members of their society. Honestly, I think it would be smart to have obviously they'd have to prove, they've been here for a while. But I think if they can have somebody who advocates for them, that can kind of build up the ability. I disagree. I don't think there are very many anti-American immigrants. I know a lot of that's like a misconception, but I mean, these are hardworking people, man, that just wanted a good life. Just like you and me, you know?
Given the need to do this, we could very quickly.
They did not vote for mass deportations. People voted to secure the border and to get rid of criminals here illegally. They did not vote for mass deportations.
Quickly negotiate a bipartisan proposal of DHS to end the
Go
violence.
the way of Europe? Well, great. They fucking are fucking living great down there in Europe. Free healthcare. I don't get out much? No, I do. I enjoy going on walks. I enjoy going to the river that's very close to my house. Going up and down there. I don't really go out in terms of like clubbing or anything like that. That's just not my vibe. No, people did not vote for mass deportations, my friend. It's not what the exit polls say. Most people voted for Trump on the economy, number one. That was their thing.
And rein them in. Yes.
But obviously,
Good afternoon.
you know, that's-
We have a polite journalist.
Thank you. I was raised right.
Maybe when you start your next question, you say, "Good afternoon, Senator."
Hey, he's from the Midwest, too. Midwest, no.
I don't think so. Hope springs eternal.
In any event, how do you lose leverage if you don't get what you
about them because they borderline harbor criminals. That's not true. So all they do is if you commit a crime, they're not going to say anything to ICE, which I think would be an issue if ICE wasn't acting the way they're acting right now. I think they're pretty justified to be like, you know, maybe, and that's not harboring criminals. Harboring criminals would be like allowing a homicide to happen. They don't do that. You're not going to catch anyone agreeing with that. Allowing theft to happen. They're not going to allow that. They just don't contact ICE when they pick up a criminal that's here illegally. And I do agree that that would be an issue if ICE wasn't acting the way they've been acting, you know?
want on this, and if there is a shutdown, how you explain this to the air traffic controller or the TSA agent who
Go
is not
talk
getting
to
paid
go
again.
go talk to Leader Thune. We've
And,
laid
you
out a
know,
plan.
I feel like
that's the way to go.
sanctuary cities would disappear overnight if we gave these people the ability to become citizens. Disappear overnight. You're not going to get every one of them. So just let them come out of the shadows so there's an actual ability to become an American citizen. I mean, hey, we're a dope country, dude. This country's fucking sick. Why wouldn't you want to be an American? You know what I mean? This place is fucking amazing. Freedom, democracy, hamburgers, pizza. You can't get that very many other places. But you can get it in America. And I think that's pretty sick. I love my country, you know? I think it's a major misstep for all the, you know, I'm not a commie or tanky. Trust me, guys. I am most definitely not one. I disagree with them on a lot of stuff, but I don't go at their throat. And that's one of my reasons I think you should, if you're unsure on who to vote for, I think you should vote for the Democratic Party, because we are a big tent party. We've got moderates, we've got commies, we've got fucking Democrats that don't believe in abortion, you know? We've got it all. Unfortunately, right now, all the Republican Party has is really Trump, which I think is frustrating because I want a functioning Republican Party, you know? Like when I come on here, I'm glad I have a lot of MAGA in my chat because I want to hear like the disagreements. I want pushback. You know what I mean? That's how our democracy thrives, dude. And that's just a fact.
So, and that's where we're headed. Okay? Yes, way down there.
Have you had conversations with Leader Thune? Is he open to splitting off the 5 votes?
Look, first I wanted to talk to my caucus, and we had a very good discussion, and we are unified. And let me just say this, as you've heard from Senator Padilla and Senator Murray, you heard their passion. Our caucus is passionate about doing this. We hate seeing Americans killed in the streets or anybody killed on the streets. But we also realize that this puts our democracy at risk. It's a force of thuggery. The federal government is supporting a large force of thuggery, and we really worry about its consequences for America if we don't rein them in. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Well, that was Senator Chuck Schumer. I personally think he's pretty cool. I know he gets a lot of shit, but I think he's actually putting up a fight, and I think the Democrats are going to see that here. You're not getting that in any other place. Look at, oh yeah, we're actually going to talk about Iran. We can agree that I want the Iranian regime to go. Democrats agree with that. Hold on, trust me. You are going to be hard to find any Democrat that disagrees that the Iranian regime is a disgusting and repressive regime, and it's got to go. We need to intervene. And I don't, if Trump does something right, you know what I mean? I want it. I want America to do well. So if Trump does something right, I'll give him his props. He needs to, I want him to intervene in this because I think it's heartbreaking. I'm sorry. When I hear like of people wanting freedom and democracy and representation in their government, and then I hear that those people were killed, it's, you know, how can you not like have not rage, but just justice needs to be served to the Ayatollah. And I mean that. Justice needs to be served to that man. He should not be in power. I think both sides have everyone divided. Yeah, that's actually learned from being open-minded to other points of view. Yeah, for sure, dude. Like, I do not like having a super divided country because at the end of the day, we are all Americans. And we all want what's best for the country. So I'm glad you can see that, though. Unfortunately, some people on the right have not been able to see it that way, but I'm glad you can. And honestly, it's good to see a little bit more of a moderate Republican. Not Republican, liberal. Sorry, I'm getting confused with my words out here. But it is good to see more of a moderate liberal like myself. I mean, I'm progressive, but I'm definitely moderate when it comes to governmental policy and stuff like that. I would say I'm liberal, though. You know, I'm definitely a liberal. But Trump is destroying America. Hey, I agree. But when we're divided, we're not going to get anything done. Which is why I'm very when Trump, for example, when Trump sat down with Tim Walz, that was great. I think that was amazing for our democracy because it did simmer down the tensions. It really did. And I think when the president can come and talk to the other side, that obviously is going to make things a lot more peaceful. You train better? Oh yeah. Hey, what's up, Aiden? Good to see you. How is it how is it in Serbia right now, man? Things going good? I feel like if there was time to just go in and play police, Iran would be the place. I know, right? This just feels weird that it just feels so weird that we haven't intervened yet. Like Iran is like it kind of feels like the regime is close to crumbling. What's up, buddy? Hope you've been well. Yeah, I've been pretty good. Thank you for saying that. Much appreciated. I hope you've been well, dog.
Mr. President.
Anyways, Mark Kelly is going to be talking a little bit more about ICE here. I really appreciate Mark Kelly. I think he'd honestly is in the running for 2028 just because, I mean, he's a fucking astronaut. You know what I'm saying? That already is like, damn, you're a fucking astronaut? But he's also just a true American in every sense of the word.
Like every American, over the past few weeks, I've watched the videos of Americans being shoved and beaten.
Kind of bad. We had physical as evidence that Donald Trump or one of his spies went into Serbia and poisoned our king. So now Serbia has sent troops to the border of Kosovo? Damn, dude. So sorry to hear that. We have crazy on the right too. Oh, trust me, I know about that. You don't have to tell me about that. You know what I mean? But we do have our crazies on the left too. So, well, I'm sorry to hear about that. By the way, Aiden. I mean, hey, that's fucking. I wouldn't put it past fucking Donald Trump to do that. And honestly, I wish we need to move, like, we should have been far past the era of poisoning people and stuff like that. Diplomacy, I feel like it's a lost art, at least here in America, because diplomacy is so important. Even if you're a senator, going to meet with a foreign leader is important, in my opinion. Trump tells the truth even when he lies. That's interesting.
And pepper sprayed and shot and killed by federal immigration agents.
But it is just sad, like, God, to speak, it's hard for me to talk about Alex just because, and even Renee, because, I mean, I know those people. I don't know those people, but I know people like them, you know? Like, everybody knows the soccer mom who's super libbed out, super lib-pilled. We love them out here. We are honestly huge fans of the soccer moms. We are big soccer mom advocates out here. But, you know, everybody knows them. Also, I love your videos, bro. Thank you, Aiden. I really appreciate that. I appreciate all the love and support. I really do. I've been getting a good amount of views recently, and I appreciate that, guys. Keep it up. Really proud of you guys. But you know, I knew these people, and so what was hard for me was to hear that there wouldn't be like a bipartisan kind of investigation. It seems they're kind of going back and saying, no, there will be investigations now, which with the state police, which I am very happy to see. But at the time it was just like, how could you do that, man? This is an American citizen. And even if you disagree with what they were doing, their life was taken in front of everybody. Even if it wasn't taken in front of everybody, there would be an investigation. So it baffled my mind that, and then something else that kind of made me a little I sad. I never lose hope, but it definitely rained on it a little bit. Was just seeing people celebrate their death. It's like I would I wouldn't do that, dude. I thought the Charlie Kirk jokes were stupid. I thought they were in horrible taste. Anyways.
Over the weekend, Americans watched what happened to Alex Preddy in Minneapolis.
I honestly, to speak on Mark Kelly a little bit, I honestly really think he'd be great for if we wanted to go a more moderate direction. I mean, Joe Biden did good. I see what you're saying. Joe Biden did good on policy, but in front of the cameras, he wasn't the best. I think someone like Mark Kelly or someone like Gavin Newsom would be a pretty decent runner up. Also, you know, I think we got a lot of fight in us. I think you're going to start seeing some fight. I mean, we've already seen it once with the government shutdown, but I think you're going to start seeing much more, even just advocacy work, because the Democrats are pretty upset, for, in my opinion, rightfully so.
U.S. citizen, an ICU nurse at the VA who took care of veterans. He was shot and killed by federal agents for no
voting is
good.
Going to be crazy. Well, hey, at least you support the Constitution, and you're not thinking, oh well, Donald Trump's gonna run again. Nah, it's gonna be a crazy time next year. I think it's gonna be fun though. I really do. Once Trump leaves, things are gonna calm down. Things are gonna cool down. You know, when you have such division in your rhetoric, it's going to lead to people kind of feeling at it on edge. FBI and things like that. Well, they do, but the thing is, they work with the state investigators as well. Because without the state investigators, you're not going to know. You're going to have to go through more channels to get stuff. You're not going to be able to go through the system as easily. So typically what will happen, sorry, I don't know if my mic is moving, but typically what will happen is a state the FBI will work with the investigators on the case, but that's not what happened here. What happened here is number one, head of DHS just came to the conclusion that they were a domestic terrorist and there to cause harm. But also, you just didn't see, they just said they blocked the state investigators out of it, which is really weird. And I'm glad they are going back on that and saying, no, there will be an investigation and stuff. But for a while there, I was baffled, honestly.
Good reason. His family lost someone they loved, and it all happened in the blink of an eye. Before that, it was Renee Good.
See, I think he's a good speaker. You got to give it. I don't know. If I was playing The Sims and I wanted to make a presidential character, I mean, astronaut, veteran, I mean, how do you beat that? You know what I mean? Senator. It's kind of a good pedigree. As a Serbian, I can confirm myself that we prefer Joe Biden over Donald Trump. Donald Trump has threatened to bomb our country for years, and now we have to team up with Russia because of it. Well, I'm so sorry to hear about that, man. And you've heard it from me before, but I really do hope someday you guys get a democracy that represents the people in Serbia, because democracies are what the people, it's what leads to decreased poverty, representation. Serbian military to join the invasion against Kosovo. They even gave him. Whoa, that's crazy, Aiden. I'm not gonna read that out loud just in case that reveals anything, but whoa, that's crazy, man. I did not know about that. But I hope it doesn't come to fighting. You know what I mean? I really, really hope it does not come to fighting. If cool heads can prevail, it won't. And that's the hope that we have to have for the future. You know what I mean? That's the only way we can ever recover from these times of turmoil. Anyways, let's continue.
It was a mother and a wife. She was shot and killed in her car, and her family will never see her again. 2 Americans are dead at the hands of their government. That should demand the highest levels of accountability.
Amen.
It is that simple. Instead, this administration...
Honestly, I don't think any MAGA would necessarily disagree with that, you know, or Republicans, anyone. I mean, you know, a state government, the government killed this person, whether you think it was justified, regardless or not, there needs to be accountability. And luckily, we're seeing that with the withdrawal of ICE troops in Minnesota. But, you know, we need to kind of reflect how we got here and what happened to lead to these points. Are you guys slaves? That's not good.
The administration has lied to the American people. They have slandered these Americans as terrorists. They have told us not to believe what we see with our own eyes. They blamed Alex Preddy because he was in lawful possession of a firearm. They have tried to block the investigations into what happened.
Oh, hold on. I gotta...
We also know...
gonna go dark for one moment, guys. I gotta update my YouTube chat. Hate when this happens. For some reason, the YouTube chat will stop updating. But now we're good. Federal authorities should be turning overall video and paperwork, every piece of report evidence, to an independent investigation center. That way there's no chance. Hey, I'm cool with that. I'm totally fine with that. If they want to set up a board for this, like, I personally think there should be, like, kind of how January 6th was handled. I mean, there needs to be an independent investigation. Where are you seeing that? Dan Cariter? Dan Cariter? I don't know. Where are you seeing that? Of course, in 2030, we will most likely get a democracy, but thank you for your care. I have a question, though. Would you ever, church or just church, become the leader of a country? No. Personally, no. Just because America doesn't really have that we are a secular government at the end of the day. So, I would never be personally comfortable with a church leader, like a big head of a religious organization becoming the president. Just because it goes against what we believe here in America, you know. Number one, I think you have to have America be your number one. That's who, the only person I personally would hold myself accountable to is the American people. At the end of the day, if I were like a politician or someone. And when it comes to religion, you don't really have that option. You know what I mean? Because their devotion, rightfully so, if they're the head of the organization, is towards the church. So But who is playing favorites? Oh, I know what Aiden. I see what he was saying. Essentially, he's advocating for like an independent counsel or something to head up the investigation instead of just the state authorities or just the federal authorities, which, that's actually a pretty good idea. I agree with that. That's a pretty, I didn't even think about it, so shout out, man. But I like that idea. Kind of having an independent counsel go in and see if people were like who's accountable. I think that's a good idea.
Know
Honestly.
that these are not isolated incidents. Just the other day, ICE
honestly, at the
conducted
end of the
a
day, if we
series
weren't
of
as
workplace
divided,
raids
we
at
would
a
trust,
sports bar in Phoenix.
them to work together, but
Places where families go to just have some wings and watch a game. The agents wore masks and tactical gear. And I watched a video of ICE officers doing a drive-by, spraying a woman in the face who was just standing on the sidewalk. They sprayed her with mace.
Sorry, guys.
She was not doing anything wrong. They violated her constitutional rights. These are the actions of a rogue agency that is storming cities, violating the constitutional rights of Americans, and creating volatile situations where tragedies happen. This is not making Americans safer. It is clearly doing the opposite thing. And it has to stop. I am the son of two police.
I totally agree with you. I think Trump personally is preventing that. That's like why personally I think there's I think like Trump with his divisiveness, he paints the Democrats like we're these evil people, dude, and I don't think we're evil. Just like I don't think Republicans are evil, We're all Americans, bro. We all be having great ideas out here. Bro, you have got to stop moving. Because I'm on my last cheap restore health potion. Okay, never mind. Yeah, the shooting was pretty shady. I can't, it's just, it didn't feel like, I don't know, it just didn't feel justified, But anyways, we do have
Police officers.
Continue onward.
From a very young age, I learned
By the way, if you
that
guys are
law
enjoying the
enforcement
stream, please
should
remember to like
exist
and
to
subscribe. It
serve
really helps out the
and
channel.
protect people. We can enforce our laws without this chaos.
No, Aiden. We are a different branch out here. We fight with we're much more secular, We made it very clear. No religion in our Constitution. I think we're doing just fine without it, honestly. I really do. I think it's led to so many great things. So much, the reason I find like anti-immigration completely, which some people have been that come here, so insane is that like most of us are immigrants here, and like you can't deny it. Seems like that's what the founders wanted, because I mean, freedom of religion, think about that. There wasn't any religions there. There's just a bunch of Protestant dudes at the time. And so they knew there were going to be people that wanted to come here from all across the world. I mean, you could say, I disagree. I think the founders were very different. They differed in their interpretations of Christianity and stuff, which is why they just made sure, and they knew other people would, so they made sure not to allow it in our Constitution. Anyways, I do got to continue.
We can enforce our laws without federal agents killing people in the streets of American cities. We should demand that as senators, as Republicans and Democrats, as Americans. We should all demand better. And we should use our power to make that happen. That's why I will not vote for the Department of Homeland Security budget this week, because that agency needs an overhaul from the top down and the bottom up. That's why the head of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and the guy who everybody knows is actually making the decisions and calling the shots and running the show, Stephen Miller, both of them should be out of jobs.
Yeah, I was close there.
Because they have lost the trust of the American people. And that's why I introduced the Stop Excessive Force in Immigration Act to rein in and stop this abuse of power.
I go the freedom and liberty, justice for all, just because they made me say it every day, so might as well go by it. I think that's a good slogan. I mean, it comes off the tongue, doesn't it? Freedom, liberty, and justice for all. It's a good slogan, in my opinion. That way, you know, if somebody's like an atheist or something, they don't have to feel left out. I mean, personally, I believe in some weird shit, you know what I mean? But that's neither here
This
nor
bill sets limits on the use of force and the use of firearms by immigration agents. It restricts the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, and pepper balls.
I don't think that's a horrible... I mean, those are all crowd dispersal weapons, and if ICE is acting the right way, I mean, they shouldn't really need to use crowd dispersal if they're just like targeted raids that aren't going into mass crowds and stuff. I don't think that's crazy.
It requires body cameras to be used.
I mean,
and it restricts the use of face masks.
That's a big one, you know.
It requires accountability and transparency so that when somebody is hurt or killed, the American people will get some answers. This is pretty basic stuff. It should be what all Americans expect.
I was thinking that too. Like, this just kind of sounds, I mean, I didn't even know they had some of that shit. So, I mean, okay. I don't think these are crazy demands, personally.
From law enforcement. And it should be something that both Republicans and Democrats alike can support.
Yeah, I don't...
Because
this sounds all
I
right
believe that we are better than this. I believe we can keep communities safe without this chaos. But that depends on all of us stepping up right now at this moment.
Should I immigrate to the United States? I've been thinking that either staying, oh, hell yeah, man, come here. I love it here. And I think you will too, bro. I will always advocate for people to come to America because it's such an amazing place. And we do have a lot of open space. Like, come to Kansas, man. I love this, maybe a little biased because this is my state, but I love Kansas. If you just want to come to go somewhere that everybody knows each other and they all will care for you and accept you for who you are, I think Kansas is a great place, you know? Unfortunately, the blue cities are all, you know, people are politicizing them. And the red places, I mean, you know, you'll probably be fine, but you just want to be a little careful. But places like Kansas, that are like, I mean, that's the heartland of America. I think are great places to be. And even like it depends on what you like too. Like I personally like more of a quiet place that's a little more I don't know if down to earth is quite the right word, but you guys know what I'm saying. But some people like a city life, and New York City would be perfect for that. Or somewhere like LA. Or somewhere like, I'm trying to think of a big red state. Somewhere like Dallas. I think you'd like Dallas. Texas is a good place too. I mean, I love America. You're never going to hear me say any state is like a dump. So I may be a little biased.
Another American ends up dead in the streets. Thank you, and I yield the floor.
And I think those were pretty basic demands. I'm kind of shocked that those rules aren't already something. I think we're going to skip Chairman Powell today, and we'll go past Omar, because I did want to get to the Iranian protests that are just so... They've been so horrible that people have just been getting slaughtered. So we're going to watch this. I'm going to watch my stream health and make sure I don't get a copyright warning. And let's begin.
And cuts the internet. That's not a good sign. They pulled this exact move back in 2019 after they killed around 1,500 protesters over 2 weeks. They began in 2022 during the Mahsa Amini uprising. Each time, the blackout served the very same purpose: to hide what's happening from the outside world.
Yeah, back then, Christianity was a lot more different. Like, it was more harsh in some aspects, but some of the founders had like way different interpretations of like what God even was, like what we are. Like it was, and it was a different time too. It was right at the beginning of the it was right in the middle of the Enlightenment, and so you know these ideas were like of liberty and caring for thyself, you know, that was all brand new. And so it was an interesting time. I'd honestly, if I had the ability, that's where I would personally want to go to anyways, I was reading, I'm sorry, I get caught up sometimes. But yeah, it was just a lot different back then. I would pay money to go back to that time. I was reading Aiden's message, and I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you for disagreeing with invading somebody to solve your differences, you know? I don't think America should get involved with our politics. No offense to you guys. Well, if we can stop a war, I personally always advocate for diplomacy until there's nothing left, you know? Anyways.
And their own citizens until the immediate threat from the protests subsided. So when the internet connectivity cut off across the nation earlier this month, it was pretty clear what was coming, especially given it happened after weeks of the largest sustained protests since the 1979 revolution. But what happened next shocked even the most pessimistic Iran observers. You've probably seen the shaky videos that made it out despite the crackdown. Images of uniformed men striding down the street, firing again and again, of snipers on rooftops, blurry images of bodies piled in corridors. While the ongoing blackout makes getting reliable information tricky, enough has leaked out to give us a clearer sense of the horrors unleashed across January the 8th and 9th. Horrors that may have culminated in one of the largest mass killings in recent history. If a recent report in Time is to be believed, 30,000 may have died. And it's our task today to try and figure out if that's an overcount or a glimpse into the deadliest crackdown in modern history. The blackout.
That might very well be how many people have died in this. Just horrible, dude. That's not what the people of Iran deserve. Not at all.
Now, before we start discussing the potential death toll from Iran's protests, we need to make one thing clear. Getting even a rough estimate of the body...
Especially people... I agree with you there, man. Like, I'm glad we both agree that democracy is just... It's the best way for people to get the most representation, you know? And it makes sure that everybody's values are at least taken into account, you know?
counts is vastly more difficult than in other contexts.
And, like, democracies definitely lead to the most freedom, in my opinion. Most definitely.
Such as the Ukraine war, where information is able to flow freely in and out of the country. The regime in Tehran has learned over the years that controlling information about atrocities might be even more important to their survival than the actual massacres themselves.
Yeah, I agree with you, Red. Like, we gotta get in there, man. We can't just let this happen. 17,000? I was saying we need to get in there when it was 500, bro. Like, fuck this stupid regime that has literally caused so many more problems than I think people realize. This regime is fucking scumbags for what they've done to their people. And they've just repressed their people so much. Yeah, we need to get in there ASAP, in my opinion, dude. Like, this should not be happening.
Hence the massive investment in infrastructure designed to facilitate a complete communications shutdown. Iran developed its own domestic intranet with the help of Chinese tech firms like Huawei, which gives the regime the capability to sever the country from the global internet while maintaining internal communications for government use. The regime deployed partial versions during the 2019 and 2022 protests, blackouts that proved relatively easy to bypass. Fast forward to early 2026 when protests were spiraling out of control. On January the 8th, 2026, the regime flipped their version of the kill switch, and within hours, total connectivity throughout the country collapsed to just 2% of normal levels. This blackout was far more expansive than just home Wi-Fi networks. It extended to disabling phone lines and SMS services in protest strongholds. As such, it has been near impossible to say what is going on in the country with anything like accuracy, something that will be reflected as we discuss different potential death tolls in today's video. With information so limited, different rights groups and monitors face tough decisions about how best to calculate a likely total of those killed. The only thing we can say with absolute conviction is that the regime's crackdown was brutal in the extreme. According to New York Times reporting, citing two Iranian officials briefed on the directive, Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei ordered the Supreme National Security Council to crush the protests, quote, by any means necessary. Security forces were told to shoot and kill, leading to instances of soldiers opening fire on crowds with live ammunition. In some cities, heavy weaponry even seems to have been deployed, with eyewitnesses in Karaj describing security forces using anti-aircraft machine guns to mow down protesters. The killing was largely, but not entirely, concentrated into roughly 48 hours of peak violence, and by the time that it was over, the protests had mostly been crushed. Analysts tracking the situation recorded 156 protests across 27 provinces on January the 8th. Just 4 days later, that number had dropped to just 7. Now, while war fronts can't independently verify that there weren't any protests anywhere in the country, the impact was clearly transformative. For days after the shooting, regime forces worked round the clock to keep that level of fear running through the country. Witnesses described Basij militia on motorbikes patrolling neighborhoods in the aftermath, shouting, "Don't come out, we'll shoot you." At the same time, though, the government was working to ensure that news of this massacre didn't reach the wider world. When Starlink waived subscription fees for users in Iran, for example, the authorities deployed large-scale GPS jamming to block out the majority of satellite connections, while also sending security forces to carry out door-to-door raids using drones and radio frequency scanners to locate dishes. For those outside the country trying to figure out what had happened, this presented a major problem. One that's the exact opposite of the battlefields in Ukraine, where too much information flooding out can make sorting the truth from the propaganda difficult. Yet for all the heavy-handed tactics, the Iranian regime couldn't completely cut off the country. Little by little, witnesses like doctors and medical teams, as well as extremely brave activists, managed to get videos and images out to the world. And it's thanks to their work that we're now able to at least try and evaluate a possible death toll. And just before we get into the grim work of counting Iran's dead, a quick breather to tell you about our subscriber service. Front Stockho is where we go deeper into the news, digging down further than we could ever hope to here on the main channel. In the last couple of weeks, for example, we've covered what life is really like for those protesters imprisoned by the Iranian regime, as well as a geostrategic analysis of what it would mean for Tehran's allies like Russia should the Ayatollah fall. Iran, obviously, isn't all we cover. We have episodes also dedicated to the war in Sudan, to Ukraine, and a whole lot more, plus our weekly roundup of the most overlooked conflict stories. For $5 a month, you get exclusive access to 2 videos a week, as well as articles written by our stabled analysts. That's Front Stockho, and now back to the true toll of Iran's bloody crackdown. The numbers. Since we have to start somewhere, we might as well begin with the lowest official account out there, that of the regime itself, with claims that 3,117 people died during the unrest, a figure announced on January the 21st as part of their final report into the incident. Now, this is likely a deliberate undercount, but even so, the number is quite significant. It exceeds the total official toll given for the 2019 and 2022 crackdowns combined. By the government's own admission, this is already the deadliest episode in the Islamic Republic's 47-year history. Interestingly, their statements haven't been able to maintain internal consistency with each other, which offer some interesting insights all their own. Sources close to the Supreme National Security Council, the Presidential Office, and the IRGC, for example, told anti-regime media the protester death count was at least 12,000. That is 4 times higher than the figure given in the so-called final report. Nor does the breakdown of totals in the report make much sense. 2,427 innocent civilians and security personnel killed versus just 690 protesters. That would imply that people armed with sticks and stones were able to kill men armed with military-grade weapons, maybe even anti-aircraft guns, on a vast scale. That officials inside the regime would leak such dramatically higher figures suggests genuine disaffection with the brutality of the crackdown. But it's an open question as to how true even this figure of 12,000 dead really is. So if the government's numbers don't hold together, what do we actually know? Well, we'll level with you. The other reports range all over the place, depending on how they're measured and who you ask. At the more conservative level, there are organizations like the Human Rights Activists News Agency, or HRANA. After nearly being destroyed back in 2010 because of a government mass arrest of their members, they completely rebuilt themselves and today have the largest volunteer network inside Iran of any human rights group. They are the gold standard. But they're also extremely thorough in terms of building a verification standard requiring 2 separate independent sources to record a death. Family confirmation plus hospital records are the most common too, but it can also include photographs of graves or multiple eyewitness accounts. If an alleged killing doesn't meet this threshold, it's not counted. As of their last update, prior to recording on January the 27th, the verified total stood at 6,221, broken down into 5,858 protesters, 214 security personnel, 49 bystanders, and 100 children. They also have an additional list of 17,091 deaths categorized as under investigation. Cases are reported through their networks that don't yet meet their verification threshold. When you combine confirmed deaths with those under investigation,
and this is, you know, I think they're scumbags, dude. They don't deserve fucking any mercy in terms of the law. What's up, my fellow unconventional freaks of nature? I don't think Trump is gonna live to see the midterms, and with how he's breathing, I mean, he's old. It's bound to happen at some point. Yeah, he is looking a little He's looking a little pale, I'll tell you that much.
You get approximately
pale
23,000.
He's
Now, it's
finally
unlikely
starting to look
that
human.
every single one of those 17,091 pending cases will make it to their list. But again, their methodology is to have a rock-solid list that verifies beyond any reasonable doubt that if someone is on it, they were a real person who really was killed. By definition, this system is built with the understanding that it is going to miss some victims. The Sunday Times, for its part, did some excellent reporting with a secret network of doctors inside Iran and arrived at an estimate of 16,500 to 18,000 deaths based on hospital data and eyewitness accounts, lower than the potential total from HRANA, but still an order of magnitude above the regime's official final count. And then there's the Time magazine report that we opened today's episode with, put together through on-the-ground sources led by two senior health ministry officials who spoke directly to Times reporters. The story described internal
Oh yeah, I know, right? I do think, like, part of me wants to prosecute some of the admin that has broken the law, but I just want to be, I want things to go down, to like simmer down, and I just feel like that would continue things. But I'm also on the side of like, people don't trust our democracy right now, and I want people. Oh, people know I have moon sugar on me? Will you buy the moon sugar? Of course you won't.
Government counts that surpassed 30,000 dead for January 8th and 9th alone. Their evidence was consistent with mass casualty events, the likes of which Iran has never seen. Individual facilities were completely overwhelmed, like the single Tehran morgue that reported between 700 to 1,000 bodies. One Iranian doctor who spoke to Western media on the condition of anonymity described the situation simply as urban warfare. As a second separate part of Time's investigation, a German-Iranian surgeon named Dr. Amir Parasta compiled an independent tally of hospital-registered deaths totaling 30,304. Parasta gathered his data through a network of doctors inside Iran in select cities, communicating largely through smuggled-in Starlink terminals, and he has been explicit about what that number doesn't capture. It includes only deaths registered at civilian hospitals, which means it necessarily excludes military medical facilities, bodies taken directly to morgues without hospital processing, and deaths in areas where no information escaped at all. In short, by this assessment, 30,304 is an undercount. Time brought in Columbia University's Les Roberts, who is something of an expert on estimating mortality in conflict zones from Iraq to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Roberts' take, quoting, 30,000 deaths are almost certainly an understatement. To put this in perspective, the bloody crackdown that followed Tanzania's election last autumn resulted in roughly 2,000 deaths, and that was considered a horrifying massacre. 30,000 deaths in 2 days? The only comparison point in recent history comes from an actual war zone, the fall of El Fasher in Sudan, where the RSF are thought to have slaughtered over 60,000 people in a single week. This isn't even the upper end of the death tolls that have surfaced in at least semi-reliable media. That goes as high as 36,500.
Conflict is so bad. It's so bad, dude. And that's somewhere else I think America needs to be. We need to end that shit.
As reported by Iran International, though we have to emphasize that theirs are anonymous sources citing documents and data that cannot be independently verified. The outlet has a history ranging from breaking really solid original reporting from inside the country to less than well-sourced claims, shall we say. They operate from London and are financed by Saudi Arabia to give you some insight into where they're coming from. So technically, the numbers of how many actually died span the regime's deeply unlikely count of 3,117 to figures north of 30,000, with most rigorous independent verification, that done by HRANA, landing somewhere around 6,000 confirmed and another 17,000 under investigation. But there's a reason that the death tolls vary so dramatically, and it has everything to do with how and where the killing actually took place. Who died? Now, before we get into the patterns of who was killed, it's worth addressing the elephant in the room. Should we trust any of these higher estimates, or are they inflated by opposition groups with an axe to grind? There's a historical precedent worth mentioning here, and it's not a particularly encouraging one if you're hoping that some of these figures may have been exaggerated by anti-regime protesters trying to drum up international support for intervention. Back in 2019, when the regime cracked down on the fuel protesters, a human rights organization using these same verification methods eventually documented somewhere between 300 and 320 deaths, which was the number that got cited in international discussions for months. That is, until Reuters got their hands on leaked Interior Ministry documents, the regime's own internal count of what actually went down. The actual toll was around 1,500, meaning the same type of sourcing had captured 20 to 25% of the real number. We're not going to extrapolate and start doing rough multiplication here of what that could mean, because each situation is different, and the on-the-ground reporting from human rights groups this time has come a long way since the 2019 protests. But it should at least signal that HRANA's final count is likelier to be an underestimate than an overestimate, perhaps by a wide margin. The patterns in who actually died tell us something about how the crackdown was conducted too, not just in terms of its scale. Kermanshah province, for instance, reportedly saw around 700 people killed in those 2 nights of January the 8th and the 9th. Kermanshah is overwhelmingly Kurdish, and when you look at what units the regime deployed there, the picture starts to get darker. The IRGC sent their dedicated anti-Kurdish insurgency unit, the same force they used to fight separatist militants in the border regions, along with an elite special forces brigade that had previously helped crush protests in Tehran during the 2022 protests. This should be viewed as less of a police response and more of a deliberate escalation given the long-standing tensions with the Kurdish minority there. The Kurds weren't alone in bearing the brunt of this either. On the opposite side of the country, in the southeastern province of Sistan Balochistan, another ethnic minority faced almost identical heavy-handed treatment from the outset of the protests. Like the Kurds, the bloc are concentrated in the border regions with long histories of rocky relations, shall we say, with the Persian-dominated central government. When the regime decided the protests had to end, these were the first communities to feel the crackdown. There's another pattern worth noting here too, one that helps explain why the verified counts currently seem on the low side. Eyewitnesses in multiple cities reported encountering security forces who didn't speak Persian at all. In Karaj, witnesses described units using heavy machine guns whose commanders were speaking Arabic, some of whom were reportedly photographing themselves with piles of bodies. CNN reported that an Iraqi security source informed them that nearly 5,000 Iraqi Shia militia fighters had crossed into Iran to assist with the crackdown, some of whom entered through border crossings under the guise of religious pilgrimages. The logic here isn't hard to follow. Foreign fighters don't have neighbors or cousins in the crowds, so there's no reason to hesitate when the order comes. But it also has implications for the death toll question. The Kurdish and Baloch regions that bore the brunt of this violence were also under the most complete information blackout. Analysts noted that Kurdistan province was essentially dark. Any reliable numbers from there will only surface much later, if they surface at all. Where next? So where's this leave us? We'd love to be able to give you a number. We'd love to say that we're at war fronts, we're able to extrapolate or investigate our way to confidence that X amount of people were killed so far at the hands of the regime. But
yeah, Aiden, like, this is an insane level of I mean, I think this may be... I have never heard of people... Like, this is an insane amount of dead people. This is a unprecedented for protesters level. I mean, at this point, America kind of has to intervene, because you can't just kill protesters and get away with it, dude. I'm sorry.
truth be told, there is just so much uncertainty in this situation given how difficult it is to get data passed around inside the country, let alone smuggle it out. The estimates that put the death toll at or above 30,000 were initially met in the international community with some skepticism. And that skepticism can be healthy, given that opposition movements have a vested interest in making whatever government they're protesting look as evil as they can. That said, we have to be cautious downplaying to what extent the Ayatollah and his men are willing to go to in order to cling to power. For decades now, the Islamic Republic has presented itself as perennially under attack from abroad, creating a securitized society in which criticism of the regime is inherently criticism of the Iranian nation, and by extension, the Iranian people. So far, they haven't shown any indication of fracturing over the fallout from the crackdown. As we covered over on our sister channel Homefronts, there have been leaks that senior members of the regime are considering reforms to both Tehran's domestic and foreign policy if the US holds off intervening. But this is almost certainly exaggerated leverage to stay in power rather than being driven by any genuine desire for reform. The entire political leadership has backed the crackdown, from President Pezeshkian's public statements to Foreign Minister Saeed Abbas Araghchi's recent op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, which was ominously subtitled, "Unlike the restraint we showed in 2025, this time we'll have no qualms about firing back with all we have." Whether or not the regime stays in power is yet to be determined, but whether the true death toll is closer to 6,000 or 36,000, the message would still be the same. Even if we take the low-end estimates, the regime just carried out one of the bloodiest crackdowns in modern history, one that dwarfs the harsh repression unleashed in Venezuela, Nepal, or Tanzania following contested elections. At the higher end, Tehran just oversaw a crackdown close in scale to Saddam Hussein's whole-scale massacre of communities that rose up against Israel in 1991. The fact that we're having to go back 35 years to get a suitable comparison point or turn to the atrocities carried out by the RSF in al-Fasher should tell you all you need to know about what the regime's message was meant to be.
Yeah, this was just a slaughter, and honestly, you gotta... how do you not intervene as America? All right, I think we're gonna watch PBS NewsHour. Skip all the horrible people, and then we'll talk about the lib wars tomorrow.
Good evening, I'm Amina Baz.
And I'm Jeff Bennett. On the NewsHour tonight, FBI agents raid an elections office in Fulton County, Georgia, as part of a...
Yeah, I heard about this. This is gonna absolutely destroy faith in the elections, which is already having some issues.
Probe into the 2020 election, which President Trump continues to falsely claim he won.
Political tensions intensify as a Minnesota Democrat is attacked at a town hall, and Congress faces another potential government shutdown.
And a family detention center criticized for substandard living conditions is put on lockdown. We speak to the lawyer of one family being kept there.
This is the reaction of the Trump administration to individuals expressing their free speech rights, both inside these facilities and outside these facilities.
Major funding for the PBS NewsHour has been provided.
I'll stop it from being 2 times speed.
Bye. The Judy and Peter Bloom Kovler Foundation, upholding freedom by strengthening democracies at home and abroad. The Ford Foundation, working with visionaries on the front lines of social change worldwide. Friends of the NewsHour, including Nell, Martha, and Mary Minow, in honor of the life and legacy of their parents, Newton and Josephine Baskin Minow, and Julie and Robin Powell, through Fidelity Charitable. And with the ongoing support of these institutions. This program was made possible by the contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the NewsHour. The FBI executed a search warrant at an election center in Fulton County, Georgia today, seeking records related to the 2020 election.
Federal agents were seen entering the office outside of Atlanta this afternoon. Baseless claims of voter fraud in Fulton County have been a focus of President Trump since he lost the 2020 election. Our White House correspondent Liz Landers has been following all of this, and she joins us now. So Liz, this search is a remarkable escalation of the president's unfounded claims about the 2020 election. What do we know about what happened?
The FBI confirming to us this afternoon that they are conducting what they say is a court-authorized law enforcement action at that Fulton County election center. And just moments before we got on the air, we obtained the search warrant that they have there in Georgia. It was signed today by a federal judge, and in it, it gives us some more information about what the FBI is seeking. It says they're looking for physical ballots from the 2020 election, envelopes, provisional ballots, ballot images, and voter rolls, Amna. So I spoke earlier with David Becker, who's an elections attorney and former Department of Justice civil rights attorney, and he said that the ballots in Fulton County have been counted many times. They've been counted 3 times, actually, and one of those times was by hand. So the idea that the FBI may find something new here is unlikely, but as you mentioned, this remains a fixture for the president. He continues to lie about the 2020 election results, and in particular in Georgia. Remember, he had that phone call with the Secretary of State in 2021, Brad Raffensperger, where he asked him to find basically the vote margin that would push him over the edge to win the state of Georgia there. Just last week, the president said in a speech, people will soon be prosecuted for what they did in the 2020 election. Amna, he talks about this on almost a daily basis.
Liz, we're at the beginning of another election year. How does what we saw today play into the larger preparations for those upcoming midterms?
That's right. This comes as the Trump administration has been requesting voter information from states, and the president hints that he thinks he could use the National Guard to, in his view, secure elections. I spoke earlier with 2 secretaries of state, Democrat Shanna Bellows of Maine and Republican Michael Adams of Kentucky, about this raid today and how they're preparing for elections this year amid debates over ballot security and voter access. Welcome to NewsHour. Thanks so much for joining us here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Secretary Bellows, I want to start with you about some news of the day that we're hearing today. What is your reaction to this FBI search of the Fulton County, Georgia Elections Office? This is apparently part of a probe related to the 2020 election. What do you make of that search?
We're still waiting for more information, but this is deeply concerning. The fact that the lies of 2020 have not ended and that we're still relitigating the presidential election then, these lies are very dangerous, and I think it's really concerning and doesn't bode well for 2026 and 2028.
Secretary Adams, are you concerned that DOJ could target other states like this?
Well, I think it's really telling that we've had, I think, 24 states now in litigation with the DOJ on our voter rolls, and there's been no FBI raid. So I don't want to overread into this more than might be there. My understanding is this is a situation where the state election board is adverse to the county of Fulton and has asked the DOJ to intervene. So that doesn't mean that it's all fine. I don't know more facts than you do about it, but I don't rush to judgment on it.
Secretary Bellows, last week, Attorney General Pam Bondi sent a letter to Minnesota, to the governor there on Saturday, right after that fatal shooting that we saw in Minneapolis, asking the governor to, in part, turn over voter rolls to the Department of Justice. Your state is experiencing right now a surge in federal immigration agents. Has the Attorney General sent a letter like this to you? And why do you think the Department of Justice is gunning so hard to get this information?
So I think it's deeply concerning. And keep in mind, for your viewers, in Maine, ICE is surging. They're calling it grotesquely catch of the day, which is just truly gross. We're in the bottom quartile in terms of percentage of immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. So for them to send a letter on the heels of the killing of Alex Preddy and demand Minnesota's voter rolls as a condition for ICE leaving indicates that ICE's presence in Minnesota isn't really about immigration at all. It's about intimidating election officials. And we're going to continue to fight to protect the integrity of American voter information because the Constitution places the states, not the federal government, not the president, in charge of elections.
Secretary Adams, I know that you have provided the Department of Justice some of the public voter files right now. How are you complying with this and navigating this as a Republican?
So I think there are opposite poles here. One pole is never, ever cooperate with the administration. And that's not the right posture, I don't think, on the law. The other is just give them everything that they ask for and not run your traps.
We're doing Coco? I have no idea what that means, man. You're speaking a foreign language right there.
Something more in the middle, which is that we have our own data privacy laws in Kentucky. We have our own personal privacy laws in Kentucky. And any citizen of the United States can ask for our voter rolls, and many do. And every campaign asks for them, the state parties ask for them, and we provide that information. But when we're dealing with people's personally identifying information, their driver's license number, their social security number, that's in a different field. We don't give those to the candidates and the parties. Candidly, the law's not super clear on this. No DOJ's ever asked for this before. So there's no FAQ on my website to tell me what to do on it. So it may come down to litigation. It may come down to us getting guidance from the courts to see where the federal law stops and the state law begins.
And I appreciate what Secretary Adams is saying, because I think this is really important. We're an open book with regards to what we do, our procedures, our list maintenance. We provided that information to the Department of Justice. Where we draw the line is the sensitive personal data of every American.
What are you both doing to reassure both the public and the Trump administration that the elections in your states are secure? Because we hear the president questioning that frequently.
We see it in terms of voter turnout. So Maine routinely ranks in the top of the nation in voter participation. In 2022, we were #1, Minnesota was #2. In 2024, Minnesota was #1, we were #2. And in fact, election integrity was on the ballot in Maine just this past November with a question about voter ID and absentee voting. 63% of Mainers voted, basically showing their confidence in our elections by rejecting any changes to our election laws. So we do believe our elections are free, safe, and secure. We have post-election audits. We have frequent recounts given how close, how purple Maine is.
Trump is hurting America and water is wet. Amen. 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 I heard water was wet.
And the voters tell us that they think our elections are free, safe, and secure because they show up.
Well, at the risk of bragging, I'm the top vote getter in my state of both parties, and I think that's a big vote of confidence in our election process. But also, the Trump administration has routinely filed briefs and other pleadings in cases that we have in federal court, taking our side of the argument on saying that we don't need to be supervised by a federal court on our voter rolls.
A
If they're clean, if they're up
No
to date,
way.
they're accurate. So I feel like we've, to date, satisfied both the public in my state and also the administration.
Well, shout out.
Secretary Bellows, the president recently told the New York Times that he regretted not ordering the National Guard to seize voting machines in swing states after those 2020 elections. What would you do as the top elections official in Maine if he made that request after the midterms this year?
We would not give him the ballots and I think this is important, right? The Constitution places responsibility for the elections in the people that the people trust, the people closest to them on the ground, the local and state election officials. And in Maine, we have strict chain of custody controls over our ballots. When the ballots are centralized for recounts or ranked choice voting, there are only 2 people that have the key. One of them is me, and he is not getting our ballots. He's not getting our voter rolls.
Is that something you would comply with?
He is
I would
not
comply with any
getting
legal
our
court order,
ballots.
but I
Damn
wouldn't just
right.
take any order that's issued to me and let that trump the law of my own state. I'd follow the law of my own state.
Both of you work closely with local election officials in your states. What's the biggest operational challenges that you're facing right now? I'll start with you, Secretary Bellows.
So we're really challenged to recruit folks into the field with the retirement of the baby boomers and also fears about threats because of misinformation and lies about the elections. So it's a much more challenging environment. So we're always working hard to recruit new clerks, to train our folks. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge.
So I was elected in 2019, and before I was even sworn in 2020, I was called to my legislature and asked what's the biggest concern that I had. And I said having enough poll workers and enough voting locations. And that was before COVID. It was before all the stuff that we've seen, all the crazy in elections the last several years. And that's an ongoing issue. To Secretary Bellows' point, our generation is just not volunteering at the level that our parents did and grandparents did. But we also have locations that don't want to be voting locations anymore. Schools are nervous about being public voting locations. They're worried about active shooters being able to scope out buildings and look for ways in and then come back later when the kids are there. The churches are getting either more political or apolitical, but either way, they have less comfort with being a voting location. So it's getting harder for us to recruit people to want to be part of the process and locations as well.
You two are here in the area for a conference right now. Talk about the relationship between you as Secretaries of State. What is the information sharing like right now?
We talk every day. Not all 50 of us to each other, but in lots of calls with these folks. We have regular calls every Thursday at 3 o'clock or what have you, but we also have a lot of private conversations. And one thing that's changed over time is when I first got here, it was really a debating society between those of us on the right and those of us on the left about voter ID and other little things. And then when we went through 2020 together, and then the misinformation stuff wasn't just about certain states, it was all 50 of us dealing with the same threats on our person, the same threats to the system, the same concerns. We really kind of bonded over that because we're all fighting the same battle.
I think that's right. And I think on election security issues, on physical security, cyber security, back in 2023 and 2024, I was threatened and doxxed and swatted. And when I came to the NAS conference, you know, my Republican colleagues were giving me hugs and praying for me. I do think that there is a lot of bipartisan conversation and dialogue. We are not going to agree on certain policies, but I think this is something that the American people can have confidence in. It doesn't matter what state you are in, whether it's Maine or Kentucky. We may not agree on certain voting rights policies, but in terms of the integrity of election administration, in terms of the checks and balances and the state and local control of the elections, that's something that I think we all really value and I think is really important today.
Secretary Bellows, Secretary Adams, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Shout out. Guys, I won't lie, I'm kind of getting tired.
We start today's other
and
headlines in Minneapolis.
It's a slow night, so I think I'm gonna shut the stream down. I'm just a little tired tonight. So, if you guys enjoyed the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, gets me boosted out there. I will be live at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so make sure to catch me then. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. I'm just kind of tired and a little hungry too, and I just exited out of Front Mission 4. What the hell? By the way, guys, go check out Tom Foolery Show. That's who I'm gonna recommend right now. Go check out Tom Foolery Show. He's an absolute liberal Chad. Oh wow, Loner is still alive. Interesting. Anyways, where is? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Not finding the music. Dang it! You gotta find the music. All right, right there. And we will get on out of here. Remember, if you guys enjoyed the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. Really helps out the channel, gets me boosted out there. Until then, I'll see you gamers tomorrow. One moment. Maybe, goddamn, how many fucking ads are we gonna get out here? Alright, later gamers.